All right, my friend, this is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. In just a moment, you're going to hear an inspiring and powerful conversation between myself and one of our Fit Father program members, Terry Van Epps. Terry is 52 years young. Over the past few months, he used our Fit Father program to drop over 20 pounds and get jacked in his 50s. And what I find very powerful about Terry's story is, as he shares, he wasn't in terrible shape per se before he started the program, but he wasn't feeling like himself. He was feeling a little overweight, lower in energy, and he knew he wanted more out of his body. And perhaps more importantly, his wife is going through a long battle with metastatic breast cancer, and she's going through another round of chemo. And Terry decided to himself that I need to get into the best shape I can be in to be strong for her and to really just feel like I'm there as a strong rock for my family. And Terry did it. He signed up for a program and he succeeded wildly. He got into amazing shape and he really found like new life kind of coursing through his veins as he got himself aligned, getting his nutrition in check, starting to train, and really just feeling like he has the structure to move forward in. So Terry's conversation, I think, is very powerful on many levels. He really represents what it means to be a fit father, which means, yes, getting your body into physical conditions so you can be there for your family, but also making the mental, emotional, and spiritual shifts at the same time through this journey of being whole, holistic. That's why we often talk about the ideas of fitness, family, and faith on this podcast. And I think it's a good thing to remind people of here with Terry here as just a prime example of a man who's aligned himself fully. So if you're a fit father walking this path, I know you're going to find a lot of inspiration in Terry, and that's his main intention, to inspire more people because he received inspiration from so many of you early on in his journey. If you're someone listening to this and you're not a fit father yet, listen to this story because it might be just the little push over the edge you need to commit to yourself and your health. The changes you can make in a short period of time are absolutely extraordinary with the right methods and the right support. So Terry, thank you for coming on today. It is an honor to present this conversation. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Fit Father, Terry Van Epps. All right, Terry, welcome officially to the Fit Father Project podcast, my friend. I'm so happy to have you here.
Great to be here, Dr. Anthony, and thanks for having me. Really looking forward to our conversation, and I hope that a lot of men and women get a lot out of this for us.
Yeah, me too. And so I think to segue really nicely in and open things up, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everyone listening, your name, your age, where you're from, and anything that you'd like to share about work and your family.
Great. No, it sounds great. So my name's Terry Van Epps, and I'm 52. I will be 53 next month in August, and feel it some days and other days not so much. So I'm married. My wife, Tracy, is a cancer survivor. She's actually going back through a recurrence right now. She has metastatic breast cancer. And we go to chemo every week. So one of the reasons why I got into this is to be strong for her too. We have 5 kids between us and 2 grandkids. So they are the joy of our lives. We are empty nesters. So they're all out of the house. They're all older. So we're enjoying the peace and quiet. But at the same time, love to have everybody over. Family's really huge to us. So that means a lot to us. And one of the things I like to share with people is, faith and family are the 2 things that are really key in my life.
Nice.
And fitness, the 3 Fs, faith, family, and fitness.
We're clearly brothers, and I resonate on those core values for sure. And Absolutely. On that front, take us back to like when you found the FFP, what was going on in your life at the time? Why were you looking to make a change?
So, the holidays, it was just that last year. Of course, everybody was kind of overwhelmed with the COVID stuff that had been going on for so long. And I think I kind of fell into some of the same habits as a lot of other people. We couldn't go anywhere for a while or do anything. I live in Buffalo, New York, by the way. And so, our restrictions here were similar to everybody else's. And we went to, we had the holidays, and I didn't really, I like Christmas cookies and things like that. So I didn't really control myself a lot during the holidays, but really kind of weight usually doesn't stick to me that much when I was younger. And now as I find as I'm getting older, it's sticking a lot quicker. So after that, my wife and I went down to Florida for a month in the dead of winter here in Buffalo. And when I was down there, I worked out a little bit. I wasn't, really kind of into it all that much. And we were having fun down there. And I got back here, and we found out when we got back that my wife, her cancer had come back and that she had to start chemo again. And so I had gained a lot more weight. I think I was the heaviest I've been in as long as I can remember. And I wasn't huge but I also, it wasn't me, and I didn't feel well, and I felt sluggish, and I was like, I got to do something. And I've always been into fitness and working out, and I've always known you can't outwork a bad diet, but I always tried to, right? And because I didn't have the discipline, and I didn't want to take the time. I didn't even know where to start from a diet standpoint. And so I was like, I'll just eat good here and there and try to outwork it. And it just never worked. And, I was up to almost 180 pounds. I'm only 5'8". So for me, it just wasn't a good look for me. I wasn't feeling well. I was kind of crabby and, just not feeling it. And I realized, hey, here it is wintertime still. And it was in March, late February. And I said, my wife has got to start chemo again. This was taxing the last time we went through it, especially for her. And I need to be there to support her. And I talked to my buddy, Jim, who just went through a kidney transplant about 2 years ago. And he had been trying for a long time. He's overweight and trying to find ways to lose his weight. And he was restricted because he has so many restrictions with his medications and his diet with his new kidney. Nothing was working, and he was getting frustrated. And he came across the Fit Father Project on Facebook. And he started doing it, and he told me about it. And I'm like, he said, Terry, this is the only thing that works for me. I'm really excited about it. I could tell, he doesn't get that excited that often. And he was really jacked about it. And I said, well, send me the link, let me check it out. And I started looking at it, and, I've looked at a lot of other things too. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is just another one of those things. And I said, you know what, Jim, let's do it together. It's working for you. I have some things to do. I'm not feeling well, and I got to get things together, and let's do it together. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So we started doing it together, and I quickly realized this was a different deal. It was a different deal. The diet piece that I was lacking was right there. And, I really had to be dumb if I couldn't figure it out. Right. So, that's what I needed. The fitness piece I loved. I'm not a big cardio guy, but, I did it. But the diet piece, it made a huge difference. And as soon as I started following that easy to follow the meal plans and, really sticking to it and just dedicating myself to it. And I had somebody to be accountable to, not only my wife, but my buddy, Jim. And it started working. And of course, when you start to get the momentum and you see the progress, it kind of snowballs, right? And so I'm like, I'm going to keep this thing going. And, I tell you, I haven't been perfect. My line kind of looks like this as it goes down. But that foundation is key for me.
I mentioned this before we hopped on. I don't know if we had a chance to throw your photos up yet, but like our whole team was just shocked at how jacked you look and how you got in a short period of time. It's really cool to see, that you were able to make such a substantial change in such a short time. So congratulations. And I'm glad we could help insert that nutrition component into your life. And let's unpack that a little bit. What do you think was like most eye-opening on the nutrition front when you get into the Fit Father meal plan, or stuff that you've actually really implemented that's like a part of your system now?
Well, I think just knowing what I'm going to eat and planning is key, because a lot of times, and I know me, and I can't speak for everybody else, but I just get lazy. And it's like, well, it's dinner time. I didn't plan for it. I'm just going to grab whatever's easy, right? And I think a lot of people do that. And you don't always make the best choices, right? You got to plan ahead. And when I started planning ahead and looking at the recipes that you shared with me and that everybody has access to, I was like, these are simple. Like, wow, this is a no-brainer. And the other thing was the portion size. So, I think restaurants nowadays, you go out and they give you these huge portions, right? And it's like, you just feel like you have to eat it because you want to waste it, right? And so it's really, it's hard to get back on that. And you have to realize that you need to eat to sustain yourself, not to please yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So when I changed that mindset, like, you don't need to eat all of that, or you don't even need to get all of that. Right. And I started looking at the recipes and planning around those recipes. It made it so much easier. I do a shake every morning. Super easy to do. A lot of nutrition in there, and it works for me. Right. And then I go easy lunch plan, very easy recipes to follow. I do the turkey and on Ezekiel bread a lot with the avocado and mustard. That works great. Easy, but even if I have some leftover dinner, a chicken breast or something from the night before, I know what's right now. You guys have provided me, you and your team have provided me with an easy to follow recipe plan. And that's what really, for me, was one of the keys. But not only that, I mean, the structure of it, the calendar with this is what you should do this day, right? Mm-hmm. It just makes it so easy for me to follow. And I'm like, listen, if you can't do this, you might as well just stop, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what got me going. But I just was feeling I needed to do something different, and those key components that you give us really have helped me make those changes. And I appreciate the compliments on my photos. It's hard for me because I see myself every day, But when I put those pictures together and I look at them, I'm like, holy crap!
Yeah,
I can't believe it. And I'm like, I still feel like I have so far to go. And I show people, and it's funny. I MC a gun raffle here in the Buffalo area, and I did it in June. And the same guy all the time sees me. I walk in and I say hi to him, and he said, hi. And he acted like he didn't know who I was. And I said, Ray, it's Terry. And he goes, oh my gosh, have you lost weight? And I said, yeah, I have. He goes, I didn't even recognize you. And I didn't think I looked that different, but apparently he did. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that is really neat. I want to ask you too, how much has this program changed you internally with maybe some of the mindset stuff, emotions, or even on walking your spiritual path? Because I know you're a Christian and you're a spiritual man as well. How is the journey of improving your fitness kind of intersected with this faith aspect of your life that's so important?
Yeah, it's really important to me. And, I joined this program for a few reasons. And one of them was, if I'm successful in it and people say, hey, what are you doing? I can use it as a testimony and say, hey, God gave us one body and I need to take care of my body. And this is how I chose to do it. And I got the motivation from this program because it's easy to do. It's hard, but it's easy at the same time. And so as I went through it and I started thinking about the faith aspect of it, I'm like, I need to set a good example, not only for my wife and my children and grandchildren, but for people that I run into every day. And, I'm not a perfect Christian. I'm not a perfect person. And I never will be perfect. But this has helped change my whole mindset. I get enough sleep now. It makes me feel better in the morning. I feel better about myself. I project myself and present myself to people in a much more positive light, all because of these changes that have come up as a result of the program. So that feeds right into the faith aspect of my life, is because it makes me a better representation of Christ, because people see me in a different way. It's not like I was this crabby guy all the time before, but I just feel different. I look different, and it helps me to act different and just be a better representative. And people can say, hey, I want what he has. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful answer. And I think if people have the privilege of watching this interview on video and just looking at you, man, are you full of life? And do you feel aligned and healthy and strong and centered and on purpose? And I think that's something I see when you see, I imagine, if you can picture yourself back in the Florida vacation, there was that subtle feeling of not being aligned. Something was off. Don't feel quite right. All the gears aren't where they need to be. And when they do, it's like what emerges from that is life, God-given life that's kind of flowing through you and inspiring and making other people better. I'm curious, what's it been like with your family for them watching you go through this experience?
I mentioned before, I've always been into fitness, if you will. And, I even led some fitness classes at my church in the past and stuff like that. So they're kind of used to me, being into it. But I think with the transformation, from my original starting pictures till now, I don't even think that they realized it until they saw it. I've shown my parents, I have a sister who lives in Tennessee, and I went down recently and visited, and I showed her, and this was back in, I think, May, right 2 months after I started, and just those changes, she was like, wow, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much you've changed. And so it's been inspiring to them too. And she would tell people, look at his pictures. And they haven't seen the latest pictures yet, and maybe they won't notice that much of a difference from the May ones. But it really has helped me, and I want to be able to inspire them too. And my family has seen a difference in me in all those fronts that you mentioned. Not only nutritionally, my wife is like, "Wait, is today your fast day?" And I'm like, yeah, it is. And well, I can tell because sometimes you're a little crabby on fast day, that kind of stuff. But we never had that conversation before because I didn't do that. I didn't fast. And frankly, I don't like it even now. But I find one thing, Dr. A, is I have to keep myself busy throughout the whole day, because anytime I sit, I start thinking about how hungry I am, and I can't do it. So
for sure.
But my family has seen a big change, and they've noticed it. And it's funny because I have a stepbrother of mine up from Pennsylvania this weekend, and he hasn't seen me in several months. And I just can't wait to see him and his family, and see, not because I want to show myself off or anything, but I want to be able to use it as a testimony and say, hey, maybe you should try this. This thing works.
Nice. That's a beautiful answer. Thanks. I want to ask you too, I know you're a former athlete, high school wrestler, right? Yeah. What's it like doing these kind of kick-ass workouts in your 50s? Like, I mean, our workouts are no joke. And I know you've tried many fitness programs in the past, and now you're into the, third phase of our FF30X journey. So you've been, you're close to 100 days, if not past that at this point. So what's it been like doing these types of workouts?
Well, just like you said, kick-ass. I remember my wrestling days. I've 35 years this year I've been out of high school. So, but I still remember them. And I think I finished wrestling at 145, and I'm at close to about 160 right now. So to be 15 pounds heavier than I was in high school 35 years later, I'm happy about that. But I was a lot heavier. But a lot of the routine, the discipline, I've carried through my life for the most part from a workout standpoint. But a lot of the stuff is really similar to what we did in wrestling. Even though it was 35 years ago, the concepts are very similar. And another thing that I really like about this is we change up the workouts. I get bored. Yeah. And, we did that in wrestling. So we would change it up because we all got bored. And I love the fact that we get a new challenge pretty much every month. And I just started the descent, and I have to say I've only done one. My second one's tomorrow, but it's my favorite one so far.
Nice.
I don't know why, it just is. I love it. And I love the assault, the workout. I think was the assault the one, the weight one.
Yep.
That we're on right now. Again, I just love anything muscle building. I've always liked, but that descent to me is just, I just love it. So I can't wait till other people who aren't there yet get there.
Nice. That's so cool to hear. And you have a couple more in phase 3. You have 2 more rounds of month workouts, and there's even some cool ones in phase 4. So you have a pretty cool journey ahead. And I want to ask you, on that note, what do you see into the future for you? What's in store for you as it relates to your health, your fitness, your body, your goals, maybe over the next year, 2 years?
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally intend to keep doing this. I'd like to try out the old school muscle program. I've seen some of the changes from some of the other Fit Father members with the old school muscle program. And that reminds me of wrestling too. We did a lot of weightlifting and wrestling. Yeah. So I'd love to try that, but I really want to, I know that you can't it's hard to build muscle and, be at a calorie deficit. You have to have a calorie excess. Mm-hmm. And so I want to be able to balance that. That to me is going to be challenging, is eating just enough, but not too much. Yep. But being able to keep that muscle and keep the lean look, but gaining as well. Right. So I know that when we cut, we lose weight and we can lose muscle too. Mm-hmm. So that balance to me is going to be really interesting to figure out. So I see myself doing that, moving over the next 1 or 2 years. And I really hope that I can inspire a lot of people around me to get involved in this and to just connect with them. And maybe even other Fit Father members now who I don't know as well, and I'm not connected to right now, that maybe have questions or maybe something I can help them out with, because I know I've been inspired by so many Fit Fathers over the past 4 months. And I just want to be able to give back. And inspire somebody else, whether it's a Fit Father or Fit Mother or whomever. And I see myself doing that over the next year or 2 years. And I think I have the foundation now. I've realized that I don't have to stop doing everything that I like doing. I like to have a few beers now and then. But this has helped me really rein that in and be controlled, or to control how much and when, and fit that into my new routine, right? My new base. And that foundation is key, because even when I was away on vacation last week, we went with my wife and I, with my buddy Jim and his significant other. And I didn't really follow a lot of the program, and that was my choice. And I did, but I still had that foundation. And I knew that when I came out of it and I was 2.5 pounds heavier, I'd be okay. Yeah. And I think sometimes we get discouraged when we fall off the wagon, for lack of a better term, and then we just forget it. I'm not going to even bother anymore. Why bother? Because I just ruined this for myself. but we can't have that mindset. And I've already lost that 2.5 pounds in the last 4 days. Today being my fast day, that helped. But I've lost it. And that just keeps me motivated and encourages me. So I know I can continue to do other things, but I'm not going to get away from this in the next year or two, or hopefully never. And, I see people who are just starting now, and I see people, another gentleman just posted today in the Fit Father Brotherhood on Facebook, and it's his 3-year anniversary, and just the changes, and he sustained that. And I want to do that. I want to be that 3-year anniversary guy or 5-year anniversary guy down the road and be almost 60 years old and have people say, wow, you still take care of yourself and still be a good witness for Christ.
Man, beautiful answer. And I think that's a shout out to Chris Pleasance. I think it was his post of 3-year anniversary. So that's awesome. And I think what you described is ultimately this program, and it was my intention, and it seems like it's been your experience, gives you a little bit of a true north that you can always like point at and come back at. And you made the conscious choice to be like, I'm going to go on vacation and, not necessarily follow what it is, but it's still a conscious choice for you now to do this. It's not just throwing it out into the rails. And that skill is what keeps you on track long term. And you very clearly have that, as well as the tools to get the weight off. Makes me very happy to hear. I want to ask you too about the Brotherhood group. I know you brought that up. What's been your experience? I mean, it's funny because, you see this, like you said, you see this online fitness program. You're like, I don't know if that's some crap. And then you join, then you see the meal plan and the workouts, and there's this community group. What's it been like you kind of plugging into the guys in the Brotherhood and just connecting with other fit fathers and men on this path?
I have to say that right there is what sets this program, among the other things, but in my opinion, apart from everything else. There's an accountability there, and there's a bunch of people pulling for you, and it's genuine. You can tell. Yeah. I've had people message me privately, and I've messaged them privately about how inspired I've been by them, and how I've learned things from them, and how I've had a bad day, and I woke up in the morning and I didn't feel like it, and I started reading through some of the posts in the Brotherhood Facebook group, and I'm like, you know what? I can't let him do that, and I'm just sitting here making excuses why I'm not going to do it. And we feed off of each other. But it really is a brotherhood. I think that's a great word for it. It is a brotherhood. It feels real. I've watched your podcasts, and I've seen how you conduct yourself, and it's very, very genuine when you talk to people. You really care about what they're doing. And I feel that when the podcasts, I see it. And I think other guys do too. And that means a ton to me. People who are genuine. That's me. And I want people to see that. And that brotherhood is phenomenal. And the support, Ben and Kat and all the other folks on your team, they're just there. And if you have a question, they're going to answer it. They encourage, they push people as well. But those brothers in there, I've seen people have medical issues, COVID, all this other stuff in this group. And they're like, I wanted to just stop, but I can't. And I think that's what the intent of this group was. I'm sure a lot more than that even, but that to me sets this program apart from every other program out there, at least that I've experienced, because that encouragement, seeing the different videos, the different variety too of things that we can do, ways that we can eat, and the exercises, and if you're traveling and you don't have weights with you, you can do this. I took advantage of that one time when we went down to Tennessee. It just makes it doable and sustainable, and it makes it so you can't have an excuse. It just does. And I like that. I need to not have an excuse, and I hope a lot of other guys feel that way too. But that brotherhood, I'm very thankful for it, and I'm glad that I joined it because it's motivated me. And there's some guys on there that are just miles in front of me, and I'm just running to catch up. And I'm inspired, and I hope I can be that inspiration for somebody who's trying to catch up to me.
No doubt that you are, and we're actually doing it right now, this moment. Like, that's what's so cool about this generative cycle of goodness. Like, someone inspires you, and then you light the next torch and inspire someone else. And I mean, this is how we, a rising tide brings up all ships. Like, it's really beautiful to see. I think beautiful is the word for me, because it's like shared human goodness working together for the betterment of these values of fitness, family, faith, well-being. And you're walking the walk, Terry. It's amazing to see. I want to ask you a little bit about, this is not exactly fitness related, but a little more personal, like your family. Obviously, family is massively important to you. As you raised your kids, and I know you're empty nester now, like what were a couple core values or things you really tried to do to guide your family? Some things that you felt like were important in your parenting philosophy, or just things you really tried to instill into your kids?
Yeah. Man, I tell you, always start with faith, and I really try to instill some core foundational values for them, so that as they grew and got exposed to the world a little bit more, that they would have enough of a baseline to really kind of navigate their way through this confusing, difficult life. They're growing up in the age of the internet. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot more challenges and access to things that I didn't when I was younger, and so their life is different because of that. And it can be good and it can be bad. So I just always tried to steer them towards the good, right?
Mm-hmm.
As they get older, they're more independent. They're out on their own. They own houses and they have jobs and a different friend group that they run with and all that stuff. But I just pray that the foundation that I set for them when they were little sticks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's huge to me. And even now, I always try to steer them back, hey, have you prayed about it? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And even if they've gotten away from it a little bit, I always try to stick to it. And I don't want to do as I say, not as I do kind of a guy. And I'm not always proud of some of the things I've done over the years, but I always try to be that rock for my kids and for my wife, if they're having a bad day, they can turn to me. And if I'm having a bad day, I can go to them too. And in fact, my youngest daughter just texted me earlier today and said, "How's Tracy doing?" That's my wife's name. And my wife has to go in the morning for a procedure to get some stents in her kidneys replaced, which is all an effect of the cancer. And she asked, she goes, "She's been on my mind a lot lately, and I don't know if God put her there or not." And she's 21 years old. And, that to me helps. And it wasn't just me, their mother had a huge part of it too. And as they grew up and we partnered together, even if we weren't together, we parented together. And Tracy's been a great stepmom to my kids. And I hope I've been a great stepdad to her two children as well. And we have two grandkids, and we're just trying to raise them up the right way and teach them the right way as well, what we feel is the right way.
Yeah.
So I just try to be that rock. I try to be that person that people can say, you know what, that guy's real and I trust him and, he's genuine. That's what I want people to know about me, not because I say it, but because they see it consistently in me. And that is how it helped me get through life. And I haven't always been like that, but the older I get, I think the more I want that, because I want the people that I love the most to see it.
Yeah.
And, so that means a ton to me.
That's a beautiful answer. And I mean, I'll share in the privilege of the short time we've gotten to talk. I mean, the congruence of what you're wanting to put out there is so clear that it's coming through on my end. So that's awesome. I want to ask you a couple of questions in closing. One, what does it mean to you to be a fit father now? You joined this program called Fit Father Project. Maybe at first it's an intriguing name, but what does the concept fit father mean to you personally?
Well, I think I've always had fit and father separately. I want to be fit, but I'm going to be a dad too, right? Yeah. And this really brings it together. It's fit father. And I'm a fit father. And I'm not a perfect father. I'm a fit father, and I still have a ways to go. But now I'm an FFP for life member, and that's a brotherhood. Just like you said, that's a brotherhood. And that's what it means to me. It is a brotherhood. I want to be an inspiration to people. I want to continue to be inspired by people. I learn something new every single day by these guys in the Fit Father Brotherhood. And but that's what it means to be a fit father. They're not separate components. I'm a fit father, and I want other people to be a fit father and feel that. And you know what? One thing I didn't mention about the brotherhood that I really like is you don't have people talking about politics or religion or anything like that, because it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. We're all people, and we're all really in this for the same reason. And that's what comes out. I don't care what country somebody's from. I don't care what the color of their skin is. I don't care what religion they believe in. It doesn't matter, but if you care for people and you show them that you care and they care back, that's what matters. And I really hope that this explodes and it spreads, beyond just the fit fatherhood, but because of the fit fatherhood. And so I mean, that's what it means to me. It goes beyond just our little group. it can go beyond that. And one guy, and I got to mention his name, Barry. I don't know him that well, but Barry Tanner.
Oh yeah.
I think he's the one that said it. He said his wife and his daughter said that he was always just this grumpy old guy.
Yep.
And he has changed tremendously because of this. And that to me is what it's about. That's what it's about. That's his family. Mm-hmm. And they've seen that change, and they want to be around him more because of the way he is. And that's because of you and your team and what you've done to help people. And I can't thank you enough for that. I am sure Barry has thanked you a ton as well, but there's so many other stories like that people just don't hear, and I want them to hear. And, it can go beyond the Fit Father group. We can take this outside of the group. It doesn't have to be just for us. Yeah. Like how we're treating each other here, that's how we need to treat other people. And that's the way I look at it.
Another beautiful answer.
Thanks.
I guess like in closing, I kind of wanted to turn the floor one more time back to you if there's anything that you feel is left unsaid in this conversation. I mean, personally, I feel like we've hit on a tremendous journey and a lot of words of wisdom and inspiration. I know someone listening to this is fired up and they want to walk the walk alongside you and the other brothers. Is there anything else that you feel like you'd like to share on our time together here?
I just wanted to say again, thank you to you and your inspiration from your father. And you didn't want to see that happen again. And so that has inspired you and your team to really invest. And that's what you guys have done, invested into us. Mm-hmm. And you don't even know us, right? I mean, you just do it because it's the right thing to do and it means so much to you and it's an inspiration for you. So you inspire us. I also want to say, I know that we've talked about faith a lot during this podcast and my journey. It's a big part of my life and I might not always show it. But I also don't want people to feel like they have to be a certain faith or a certain background or belief to do this because they don't. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned that kind of earlier. And, I give all thanks to God in Christ, and that's just what I believe in. Other people don't have to believe in that. And if they choose to, that's great. But they have other things that they believe in, and that's okay too, right? Yeah. It doesn't make it wrong or doesn't make me right. Mm-hmm. And so I just want people to understand that and realize that this isn't just about that. That's a component of it. But if you can align all of these things, your nutrition, especially your nutrition, you say it all the time, 80% of it's nutrition. It really, really is. You can't outwork a bad diet. I've tried it and it doesn't work. But the structure around it and the brotherhood, those key three things, man, that separates Fit Father from everything else. And if you don't stick to the program and if you can't follow it, that's on you. That's not on this team and this group because it's doable. And if you follow it, you're going to be successful, period. And so I guess it's maybe my way of closing it out from my end is I feel like I've been somewhat successful and I hope I continue to be successful, but also inspirational. And I've learned from, you've inspired me, your team has inspired me, and all of those guys in the Fit Father Brotherhood has really inspired me as well. So thank you. And, I'm honored to be a guest on a podcast, and I really hope that it makes a difference for somebody.
Terry, you're welcome. And you were a brilliant guest. I truly enjoyed this time together. My heart is very full. And, I think you said something interesting. Maybe I'll share one thing in closing. You said that I don't know you. And I suppose in some way I don't, but in some way I do. And because I may not know how you grew up, all the facts about your family, the experiences you've had, but through seeing what I've gone through in my life, knowing my heart and the human spirit, seeing what my dad went through, we are the same. Ultimately, when this all boils down to, and that's been a resonant message in this whole thing. So I know you because I know me, and I know what the heart of this human experience is, and I know how powerful an experience it is when you use your will and you get some help and guide rails with a program like this, and you're able to channel and align yourself. I know what that feels like, and I think that's one of the core things I'm here to do is help people experience that for themselves. And it's one of the greatest gifts you can give me is come on here and share how much this program has felt like it's blessed you and inspired you and that you're fired up. So the gift has been returned in kind, a millionfold. Thank you for being a fit father, Terry, and coming on today and sharing everything with us.
My pleasure. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Terry.